Hi everyone. Yes, I am sitting here with Jenny and we've been talking about a whole gamut of stuff around breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and then finally, when we all come together, I say, well, when did you get into politics? I forget all that stuff. I'm just so intrigued with our conversation about women's health.
Yeah.
And, like you yourself have lived through breast cancer.
Yeah.
And, like you were saying, in your family, you have the gene.
Yeah.
So tell us about your story. Like, what was your journey and how old were you when it started for you?
Well, this is the thing. When I was 21, I found a lump in my breast, and it was because I was so young. It was like, maybe you should do something. It's probably not cancerous, but they couldn't tell that. And then it was had screens every year, but not really effective in young women. So I had the lump removed and it was just benign. So then I just went, oh yeah, I've got a lump in the breast, that's all right. And then my sister was about 27 and she rang me one day and she said, I found a lump and without history of breast cancer. And I was like, what? Because I'd done my numbers so badly. My aunt on one side, where there were 11 kids, had breast cancer. My aunt on the other side, where there were 5 kids, had breast cancer. So I'm like 1 for 5, 1 for 11. No problem.
Wow,
right?
yes.
Except 1 for 1 on girls on that side and 25% of the women in the other side because there's only 4 girls. And so I just went, I hadn't even thought about the statistics, because you just think your aunts are your aunts and whatever. Anyway, so she got it tested and then she found out she was pregnant the next day and baby was fine. They worked through the pregnancy and the cancer treatment, and my niece is about 12 now, so everything's really good. But then it was like, well, how did she get breast cancer at 27? And my aunt on my mum's side was 40 when she got it. So then genetic testing was coming in. So my sister got tested and they found she had the gene, and then they tested my mum and they said she doesn't have the gene, and they were like, that's not right, because she should have the gene, because 40-year-old sister, 27-year-old daughter. Then they realised, no, it's actually my dad's side of the family that it's come from.
Yeah, because we just automatically think it's the women.
Yeah, but it's actually, there's increased risks with that gene, not just of breast cancer, but of ovarian cancer, earlier onset prostate cancer for men, and also skin cancer. So basically, then that meant, okay, I have to start thinking about that. And I'd finished having my kids. I was 38 or something, 37, and I went, okay, I'm going to have what they call a bilateral salpingo oophorectomy, which is basically to take
show off
everything out. Yeah, all your stuff out. So menopause at 38. So I had 2 little kids. So yeah, Jess was 6 and...
So you had your ovaries removed at that? Oh,
and
wow.
Fallopian tubes and ovaries, and uterus. But the thing was that reduces the breast cancer risk by 50%. So then I was like, yeah, good, that's good. I've got menopause, but it's not so cool. Had to go through all the bone density checks. That hasn't been great. I've got like little bits of arthritis coming. Like age-related things, I'm sort of ahead of the pack because I've had less estrogen in my life. I did go on hormone replacement therapy, but then I got a clot because I was travelling and all that. So anyway, but it just went on, got involved in politics, and it was just something I was monitoring every 6 months. I'd get either an MRI or a mammogram, because an MRI is supposed to be more effective in younger women. And November 2016, I found out that I had some cell changes. And so then I went to the doctor again in January, and he said, no, this is, not good. And I was kind of at that stage thinking, should I do a preventative mastectomy? Because I was just getting to the stage where every 6 months I'd go through this, am I going to be, are they going to find something this time?
And that's heartbreaking, isn't it? Like always thinking that. It's a constant thing.
Like 8 years. I mean, I remember it was a period I just took about, 2 years off doing that early on. And my doctor said to me, why are you doing this? I said, I just need time off this. I don't want to do it anymore. And so then I went back to doing it, and it was better that I did do it because they were able to find these cells. So they did what they call like a wide excision. So they take some tissue around the cells and make sure that everything's fine. They took that out. So that was good. And I took 2 weeks off work and it's just gone, and like no one knew at all. And I can remember there was one person at work I told, and no one else. And that was basically because one of my colleagues had died of cancer the day I got my diagnosis.
Oh, no.
So you can imagine you're like in this political party where everything's a little bit, people worry about these things.
And you're our federal...
state for Maitland.
Yes, for Maitland, yeah. So, I mean, you were blessed in that way that you could have the time off. Because, I mean, a lot of people, a lot of women out there that are going through this, they haven't got that time to have off on their jobs. And they do tend to put things off a little bit or go without pay or, something like that. And, I mean, time is valuable when you're going through that situation.
Absolutely. And I remember having conversations with my doctors about, when I was going to do it, and like I took off between Anzac Day and Easter so that I could have the least number of days off work, and then no one would notice I wasn't there, because I knew I had to be back for Anzac Day, because then I was doing the commemoration services or whatever. So like everyone has pressures about taking time off or whatever. And I can remember actually when I went to go and do the reconstruction, going to the doctor, and I'd cry every time I went to the doctor's surgery, because that was the only place I had this space to think about this just for me. Like my family wasn't there, my husband, my kids, my workmates, the public. I could just be totally me, and this is crap what's happening to me and all that. And so anyway, they were good. They said maybe you should talk to someone about it, which was good. I did talk to a counsellor, and it was really good, because you sort of work out what some of that stuff is that's, why you're scared, and it's, might be because you're just not sure if you can do it on your own. Like particularly in my role, I'm used to helping other people, not so good at being helped.
Suddenly, you need the help. You're in need.
Yeah.
So you felt that the counselling was good for you in that way?
Oh yeah, and I'd really recommend that to people. It just reminded me, or gave me some thoughts about, just asking for help doesn't mean that you're not good enough and that sort of stuff, which is not that it's that simple.
But sometimes it is, like when you're in that sort of trauma mode.
Yeah.
And like, I can imagine, like you just don't want to tell everyone all the details, because you're in the public eye. And it's like you want to keep it all inside.
Oh yeah.
And you don't want to let it out. And that in itself is like a cancer, isn't it? Because you're holding that trauma inside, and it's not good for the soul anyway, not to release that.
There's stigma as well, because people just decide that you're going to be unwell for a very long time, or you're not performing at your best, or whatever the thing is. And so I really worked at not showing any weakness, and in politics you're already up against that as a woman, so it was really hard. Like, so you just couldn't do it. Like, you just couldn't show anyone that there was a problem. If you blink, I felt if I blinked then at work, then people would think I was weak, and they wouldn't respect me. So that was really tough.
Really sad. Like tough but sad, that's the way we as women are thinking, that it has to be like that, and it shouldn't be like that at all.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you were saying before, like policies, we were talking about policies off camera before.
Yeah.
So what were some of those policies that you were kind of looking at?
Yeah, so before the state election, we were looking at screening, because for me, why I only had to take the 2 weeks to have the initial surgery done was because I'd had it detected at a stage, like it was so minimal. They were cancerous cells, but it was, not advanced in any stage. Whereas if I hadn't have had that, and I had a friend who did go through this, and it was much more advanced, and so then it required radiation and chemotherapy, and that it's more cost to the individual, it's time off work, it's more cost to the health system. So we got together and we said, let's look at how we can reduce that, and not just around breast cancer, but also other forms of cancers, and even heart disease, for example. In women, a lot of women miss the signs of heart disease, so to try and look at
they
screening
call it
properly.
the silent killer, don't they?
Yeah. But so that's why I'm really pleased that with the policy that Federal Labor's done with the cancer package, because I think that will be really a game changer, because the cost of cancer to individuals, and it's not just around the treatment or getting chemo or radiotherapy or getting access to surgery, all that sort of stuff. There's other things you need to do, like the counselling, or it might be getting a massage or doing some exercise sort of regime to try and clear
Time off
everything out.
work.
Yeah, and that is the big killer. And particularly when you look at earlier onsets of cancer and diseases like that, we have to start thinking about cancer as a chronic condition for a lot of people, or even a long-term illness, but it's something that people go back to work after. And so they're not ready to peg out access their superannuation because they're 20 years off that.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that there's viable options for them.
You know, and I mean too, if they're not in a fund,
Yeah,
like, that's
absolutely.
an incredible situation for anyone to be
Yeah.
in. And, you know, I'm not saying anything against the public health system at all, but I'm just saying, you know, that people do have to rely on the public health system. And sometimes a wait list can just be so incredible that they're basically dying while they're waiting, because it's just getting more and more prevalent in their life. So to them, you know, it can be the difference between, like you said, catching yours at a very early stage and getting on top of it, to where being on a wait list and getting to that stage, that it can manifest into something quite radical.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, what do we do about that? Like, what do we do about that? Because there seems to be so much more of cancer out there. We're hearing more about it. You know, that those sort of situations, I feel, need to be changed. But it's so enormous. Where do you start?
I think the screening has to be the big
Absolutely.
thing. And, you know, providing people with assistance at the early stages. So I was telling you before about this woman that I met just after I went back to work.
Is this the termite story? Right.
So,
Jenny's been told not to tell the termite story, but she's telling it. So.
oh, just my husband, yeah. But no, the lady herself, she's really pleased about it, because to talk about it, because she can see that it's something that changes people's perspective. So she had termites in a house, and I went to look at it because housing wasn't doing anything about it. And I said, why don't you move, because there's lots of issues with the house. And she sort of said, the air conditioning up on the roof, I have to pay for it to be replaced and move to another property if I move, and I need that $500 because my doctors told me that I've got ovarian cancer and I won't survive the public health wait list, and so I have to go into private surgery. And
So she was willing to stay in that particular situation, because otherwise she wouldn't have been able to pay for her health care.
Yeah. So, you know, these are the choices that people are making every day.
And that's only one story.
Oh, there's so many more. And, you know, even the same day, there was another woman, she had an MRI because she'd had a diagnosis of breast cancer. They wanted to check how far the breast cancer had progressed. So they gave her an MRI, and then she found out afterwards she'd have to pay for it. And she just was devastated because that was $500 or $600 she just was not going to be able to afford for groceries. So these are choices people are making all the time.
So she didn't eat.
Yeah.
She didn't buy groceries so she could have the test done.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's at a stage where she needs to have that nutrition in her body to help her get through it and be healthy to actually live through that. That's just so damn sad, isn't it? And that's what our system's got to, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's all about early detection, isn't it, really, with any sort of cancer.
Yeah.
So, you know, the one thing that I would say to people out there, and, you know, men get breast cancer too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, it used to be a situation where everyone believed that it was just the females, you know, so there's a lot of men that do get breast cancer, and early detection, you know, is the best way to go. So with any form of cancer, and especially when you've got a history of it in your family, like, it's very important to pursue that and to get that checked out.
Yeah, even this gene, like the earlier, more aggressive prostate cancer is also an issue for male family members within that.
So they've all gone and got checked too?
Yeah.
So I mean, you'd have to, like, in that situation.
Yeah.
So, and that, then again, we're saying it's not just the females, like guys out there.
Yeah.
Like, you know, go and get checked, and all you women out there, you know, like, that are going through this situation, get your brothers and your sons and your, you know, your fathers, get them to check too, because, you know, cancer has no friends, you know, so cancer doesn't just sit there and choose the lucky ones, you know, like what I mean. It just wipes, you know, families, goes through everyone. So, you know, like you were saying before, we're talking about money that was spent. for your treatments, for your family? Like,
Yeah.
what would be like a rough estimate that the
Well-
situation, like for your family, they've spent on cancer treatment?
I know with my dad it was somewhere in the order of like 25,000, and probably mine was with counting the reconstruction that I did afterwards, which was really a preventative, and it was preventative mastectomy and reconstruction. So that's that. And my sister, like, because she was casual, so probably about, $40,000 worth of wages gone. So it's a really significant cost to the community.
And it's not just the money that it costs you for the treatment. It's
No.
all the other stuff attached to it.
Absolutely.
And not only that, like how it affects families and that. Like your family, are they grown like young people, or they're and what age group are they in?
My daughter's 17, sorry. My son's 19.
So would they get checked for the gene as well?
You can't check anyone before they're 18, and it's...
Is that because of the law, or is that because it's undetectable?
No, the gene would be there from birth and detectable from birth, but it's just they don't do it. It's a big decision to have going through the gene testing was really very difficult. Like it was probably one of the most emotional parts of my journey, because I saw what had happened to my sister, and for a long time that was just ahead of me. So it was like having this shoe that had just fallen off, and you're just waiting for the other one to go. And there's a big group in America called Facing Our Risk of Cancer Empowered, called Force, and they do a lot of work on this, and they call it like Previvor. So you're not a survivor, you're a Previvor.
All right, yeah.
And it's a really, like, I can remember probably the first 6 or 12 months, I just went, what's the point? I'm going to die of cancer. I just really couldn't shake that for a long time. So to have that on your children, like, it's a hard thing. So you need to be in a space where, you're ready to have that thought. And I just was not prepared. I just thought, there's no way I'm going to have it. All the myths in your head, like, oh, I've got small breasts, it won't be me.
Yeah.
My breasts are nothing like my sister's. We look like a carbon copy of each other. All these things, it's just ridiculous. But you just tell yourself, and then you go in there and you walk in there and they say you've got this gene. And then
how do they test it? Like, what is that?
It's a blood test.
A blood test, okay.
Yeah, so they just find the genes, and they go through and they do genetic counselling, and that's telling you about it. There's also like insurance implications. So if you know that, like, knowing you've got a cancer history in your family, it's different to knowing that you actually have the gene. So you have to make sure that you don't, what's the word? Disadvantage yourself on that. It's like I've got less chance than anyone I know of having breast cancer again, because these are really not gonna get it. But it's you got to. The insurance companies don't work on that; they work on the initial risk. So yeah.
And what was the like? What time did it take you to be well again and just up and ready, like after your reconstruction?
Oh, the reconstruction was that was a whole other story. So basically, they took tissue from here, put it in my breast, and so that was like 11 hours of surgery. So I had, yeah, it was pretty big.
Wow.
Yeah, and then
I mean, everyone, I could just imagine some girls saying, "Oh, Jenny, you're so lucky you're getting rid of some of your tummy," like but wow, 11 hours.
Yeah, and then well, I am, because it was harder for other people I know. It's been harder, but so then I was just. Then you're in ICU for sort of 24 hours, and then you have to have Dopplers, so like little ultrasounds, to make sure all the tissue's still going. And then everything was all fine, but one part didn't take, like it died, so then I had to have some more surgery. So if I hadn't have had that, I was going to be back at work in 5 weeks, and but it took another 2 weeks because of the complication. And yeah.
And how do you feel now, like?
Health-wise, I'm really good now. Like,
I feel like it's just a big blur that you're sitting on the outside watching like a movie.
That's right.
Where you go, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And it is like, that's an incredible journey to go through, and then to still maintain your position.
Yeah.
And to be working as you do. And I mean, I see you around. You just seem to be everywhere. I don't know how you do that.
I think I was just like, once I had the initial diagnosis, and then I was like, I've got to keep going, and I've got to keep going, and then I've got to keep going to. Then I had the reconstruction, then I've got to keep going and get back on until I do the election. So like post-election, I've had like a few weeks off, and I probably felt the most relaxed that I've felt in 3 years, because everything was, I've just got to get to the next thing and then I can do
continually
something.
like pushing yourself to
yeah,
that
yeah.
next level and getting over it, and then okay, well, I've reached that hump, I'll just get ready now and I'll get ready for the next hump.
Yeah.
So you're like, to me, I find the message out of this story to me is that early detection is everything.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know, I'm just imploring like my viewers out there, if you've got, even if you haven't got any doubts, I mean, if it's in your family, or you know, like,
I think you just have to regularly screen. Like,
yes.
you know, just whatever you do the breast screen bath, or, you know, book in and get it done. And if you're under 40 and there's any, under 50, like between 50 and 40, and there's any history at all, like talk to your doctor, because there is things they can do. And you know, one of the benefits of having the gene diagnosed,
benefit,
is
a benefit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I've got to hear.
Is that, well, the MRI screening for me was free, so that was a big benefit. I mean, it's not fun, it's not something you want to do, but it's okay. And mammograms don't hurt, really.
Yeah,
like,
I know there's that old you know, theory there that
I've never had a mammogram that I've gone, oh, that was really bad.
Yeah, and I think that does, like, you know, the old myth, as I was trying to think of that word. The old myth is that, you know, everything gets squished down, it's very uncomfortable, and they treat you like this and whack it in there and whack, and you just go, hang on a minute, how could they do that? You know, but it is a myth.
All the breast cancer and breast screen and doctors and everyone that I've dealt with has been really good to me, and that, not because of who I am or anything like that, just because they're just good people, and their job is about just making us feel better. And you know, it's a hard job, but
so don't be afraid to go and get the screen done. At least do yourself a favour and do it. And if you've never had one before, like, you know, go and do it. Just ring tomorrow and make that appointment. Or if anyone's watching and they know that their wife hasn't been before, or their daughter or daughter-in-law, go and make the appointment for them, and then tell them, you know, pick them up, tell them you're taking them to lunch after it, you know, like,
I'll probably let people make their own appointments, but you know, definitely have that conversation and definitely
absolutely
support them. And you know, like, one of the things, my husband was really, really good and really supportive, and it was just constantly believing that I could do it, and just, you know, just take on the bit that you need to do. Like, we're both pretty busy people and we're both pretty driven, and that's been a hard thing to kind of come back to, but it, you know, you can't just do everything
little bits at a time.
Yeah, like, we're going to get through this appointment and then we're going to get through that, and just break it down to whatever is the thing you need to do tomorrow, and you do that, and then by the next day you'll get ready for that one.
And it's really, like, I know in times of trauma and stuff like that, it's just so important to have that support, isn't it?
Yeah.
And to have someone that really cares about you.
Yeah.
And that is willing to support you. And like you say, be there and just say to you, you know, like, it's as much as we just get through that appointment.
Yeah.
And then we'll worry about the next one.
Yeah.
You know, so it is important to have those supportive people around you in this time.
And to realise, like, cancer doesn't make you a nicer person.
Yeah.
Nor should it. And, like, you're still going to have your bad times. And that's when sometimes a counsellor was good, because you could just talk to them about, because you don't want to put your whole family through the ringer. Like, we all try and protect our family. So that was really good. I could talk about things that I was really scared about, that without feeling like I had to be the strong one all the time.
To the counsellor. Yeah. So in that time, like, you are really you, and you're just spilling everything and all your cares and woes to that person, and asking all the questions, because, you know, when you're in that situation, the last thing you want to do is discuss it with your family sometimes, because you don't want them to worry.
Yeah.
So
But it was good. Like, once I'd spoken to her about it, then I kind of knew how I felt, and then I could actually talk about it with them.
Or even just getting the explanations, you know, sometimes that gives you a clearer mind and makes you a little bit more at ease, knowing exactly what is going to happen, instead of sitting there trying to guess what's about to happen. And sometimes you can just conjure up a whole heap of stuff that's so unnecessary and get yourself all worked up.
Yeah.
But, you know, at least with a counsellor, you've got that situation where you can discuss it and be yourself and be free and open about the whole thing.
You're just not worried about worrying them. You know, like,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, it's different. So it's good.
So, Jenny, thanks for coming on the show. Like,
Thanks
it's
for having me.
awesome, like, great little conversation, and it certainly made me think about a lot of things. And I just think you're absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Because of all, like I said, I'm seeing you everywhere, and you're always doing this and you're doing that. And there doesn't seem to be any gap that you went missing. Like, I don't even know how you fitted it in. But it's like, you know, walked out of your body and come back the next day. So each and every week, I ask my guests to give like a word of hope, like a little message of hope. So if there's someone watching tonight and perhaps they've been through a similar situation as you, or they know someone that has, or they've heard that someone might be going through it, what would your message of hope be to that person? So you can just look over there and write down the camera. You're used to this, you know, and your message of hope.
Yeah, well, I think for me, it's that it does get better, and that even however bad it looks from this perspective, it's actually just this perspective and this moment in time. And when you're on the other side of it, you'll think, wow, that was something I did, but it won't have all the same fear. So I think really don't be afraid of it, because it'll actually get better, and just ask for help. It's probably the best advice I would give to anyone.
Yeah, ask for help.
Because people are there, and that's, I think, the hope is that so often we don't ask for help because we're scared we're not going to get it, but actually the help you'll get will be amazing and make you feel really good about yourself, and will probably improve your relationships.
Great advice there. Yeah, that's lovely. So, you know, each and every week, like, I have these most amazing viewers that just keep this whole show going, and I'm just going to call out a couple of names because I can't mention you all, but Sharon Sharp, thank you so much for joining us, and Lance Baker, like Lance I interviewed a couple of weeks ago. Amber Jane Sterling, thank you so much. Ian Edwards, Veronica Williams. Ian Edwards?
Yeah, I know Ian.
Oh,
the blind
okay.
chef.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Know him.
Okay. Ian Edwards, yeah.
Hi, Ian.
Thanks for joining in tonight.
Yep.
Veronica Williams, Debbie O'Donoghue, thank you so much. And Heidi Alexandra Pollard.
Yeah,
you know
we all
Heidi?
know Heidi. Yeah.
Everyone knows Heidi.
Yep.
Hi, Heidi. Deborah Quirk and Zoe Edwards, thank you so much for joining in. And I'm really looking forward to next week talking to you all. And so join me next week, Wednesday night, 7:30 on The Couch with Kelly. And you can go to our website, onthecouchwithkelly.com, and have a look at all the other episodes. We've also got a YouTube channel, On the Couch with Kelly. So just check us out. And we're on Instagram too. I don't know how that's happening because that's the producer's part. But anyway, you know, it's one of those modern day things. But I'll see you next week, 7:30. So it's goodbye from me. It's goodbye from Jenny. And no matter what in life, know you're going to be okay.
Okay.
That's it.